Hello and welcome back to How to Build Lego Transformers. If you haven't seen one of these videos before, I basically go through my design process and show you how I build one of my Transformers. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, one request I've gotten a whole bunch is to do a how-to on a Duocon, so today that's exactly what I plan to do. I went to my friend Starscreamer asking if he had any ideas for a Duocon, because honestly I didn't have a particular idea in mind, and he suggested doing something with monster trucks. So today we're going to start with a monster truck, and I have these wheels ready. If you don't recognize these, they're these simple Technic wheels, which I should put the part number up on screen right now, and then these kind of Lego City wheels. I don't know if Lego City still uses them very often. They used to use them all the time when I was a kid, but yeah, that's where I know them from. So these just kind of slide in like any other tire, and you get this really nice looking off-road wheel. And I think that's pretty good for a monster truck. Maybe a little bit small, but I think it will make do. So there we go. And I guess the next thing we need is some pins to attach them by. So, oops, one rolled under the camera there. There we go. Those pins can just go in very easily. Now, another suggestion from Starscreamer was to try and use the tires in the limbs, similar to a mini-con from Transformers Armada, which I don't remember the name of right now. I owned a repaint of it as a kid, and I'll put it on the screen right now, but at the moment I can't remember the name, where effectively the wheels were embedded into the limb. I don't know how doable that is in Lego, but let's take a look, I guess. Let's see what we can do. So my first thought is I'm going to get some Among Us plates and some studs to mount a hinge kind of on the edge of the tire, like that. And then it's a matter of finding some kind of piece that can connect those two. And I do have an idea. I just don't know where I put the piece. There we go. I found it. This very interesting piece. I think it first got used for scooters or something. But I'm wondering if something using this, because it's such a long stem, I'm wondering if that could come in handy. Well, if I just did one tire, that almost spans the gap. Almost. But with two tires, that's not quite right. So what if I get one of these? And I have an idea. I don't know if it's going to pan out, but I have an idea here to use a 1x3 plate like this, and where are my two long bars? Oh, there they are. If you can't tell, it's been a minute since I've done one of these videos, and I guess I should talk about that. To be honest, I just haven't been building that much Lego recently. I've just been very preoccupied with my new hobby of 3D printing, which hopefully you guys will see some videos on soon. I've just not been ready to share those videos yet, but hopefully soon I will have something to show for my 3D printing. So this was the basic idea I had. As you can see, it's kind of jank. This is very barely connected. So let's see. Can I get it better than that? See, it's kind of offset. The idea was this would then fold out, and unfortunately that does result in, one tire out further than the other, which isn't good. So what if I bring in this piece and did something like this? Will this fit? Just barely. So now it's a little bit offset, but it's offset enough that I think I could live with it. I don't like that this is bending, but then it can just barely come together like that, which I don't know. It's not ideal. This is a very tricky situation to try and work out. So let's try some other ideas. Like say a robot hand, maybe. Will a robot hand afford me a better way of doing this? Oops. Dropping everything. Top that off. So that's getting closer. Closer. So then I wonder, if I switch back to this. And there we go. That's basically what I want. And can it fold? Just not quite. I wonder what would happen if I swapped this direction. Still not right, and then it doesn't work there, yeah, so. So we have the tires stacked here, which could make for a really cool leg. And then we have this here, which can be built off to be a foot. Pretty simply. Oops, I knocked the camera there. Sorry about that. See, like there you have a pretty cool lower leg. And this would all probably be colored black to blend in with the tire. That's pretty cool. And then it would fold open like this. Yeah, I think this is the best I can think of right now. So I think we're just going to go with this. I'm going to duplicate this, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we have two of them. You can see they come together and would form the base of the monster truck. Yeah. decent look. Now it's just a matter of, I guess, creating the thighs, which I think we will start with a clip tile. Into Among Us plate. And then some kind of rounded slope. Because remember, this will all be oriented like that. Very nicely. And what I want in this mode is for the feet to come together flush. And you can see this slope actually ends up more or less flush. So we want, those slopes to be flush. And I have an idea here, actually, to simply use some of these handle pieces and then a D-snot, which let me grab some D-snots. He seemed to be doing kind of a white theme here. I don't think he will be white in the end, but as I'm building it, we can make it white, just why not? It makes for a cleaner thumbnail if I can roughly get some kind of color scheme in the build. Though, I would want to probably go for something more aggressive, more monster trucky than just white, In the end, maybe some shade of red. Though the last monster truck I did was red, so maybe it would be more interesting to do a different color, now that I think about it. But I guess we'll see. So there we go. So this is the thigh folded up, and actually let me attach the hips before I show this. So there we go. So these are the hips which you can build the rest of the truck off of. It's all folded up in truck mode. Then these will fold out. Fold down, rotate, fold over. And there you have a cool leg. And there you have a cool leg. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good look. So, like I said earlier, I want this to be a Duocon. And unfortunately, I actually have like half of a robot here from half of a vehicle. So I could, always say, well, screw the Duocon. Let's just make this a singular robot transformer, which is always tempting. But in the interest of staying true to my word, we are going to try and make this a Duocon. So what I'm thinking is this guy can form, most of the torso as well. And then his partner can form the arms and the head maybe. And I'm thinking his partner could be maybe like a dragster or like some sort of crazy souped up race car, fitting that kind of auto sports theme. So yeah, I think I would want this waist to be positioned like this. So he has this kind of nice backward joint for dynamic posing. So yeah, there we go. So I'm going to get this back into truck mode and we will continue building. So here we have him back in his truck mode. And like I said earlier, I want this to be the front of his crotch. So basically, we're kind of oriented pretty nicely to where building off of this, building upwards, we'll be building the torso of the figure, and we'll be building the chest where it should be. So it kind of works out. And the first thing I'm thinking is let's get some brackets in here to create a chest. If I can find my upward brackets. Wow, I'm, let me show you this. I couldn't find it because I'm running so low in them. I don't know how I have so few of those. I honestly don't know why I have like such a small number. But I probably actually want to put one here to lock that in place. Although I realize that would inhibit the articulation I want. So this might have to be the front, which I think with how he transforms, that shouldn't be a problem. His legs are symmetrical, so flipping them over should be fine. Just so, and I would do that just to lock this all in place, because otherwise, if you don't have a bracket spanning this, this is all loose and can pop apart pretty easily. But if I have a bracket spanning it, I can then have, you know, brackets over here and have parts spanning that connection and giving it a more solid, you know, like a spine almost. Although I think I'm actually going to drop this lower plate, which is very, there we go, very stubborn. Actually broke the model before it would come off. And move it over here so he has more space, more clearance for his leg joint. There we go. So this would basically be his chest. This would be his groin. Well, this would probably be more his stomach, really. Yeah. So we're going to have to deal with this whole section here, which is going to have to like fold onto his back or something, which shouldn't be a big deal. But obviously we need this open for where his leg goes in robot mode. So let's get some basic bricks going so that we can build up the front here. Okay, I got some basic 1x1s. Horribly sorted. I have some random pieces in here. I don't know why. Let's get those out. But yeah, let's fish out some 1x1s. Should be enough. And some 1x4 plates. These can all go together, and then let's get some brackets here. And then when this all folds in, you can see this would be basically where the grill would go. Which, I mean, why not? Let's put the grill on. And some headlights. Now, you can see that, you know, this is floating, so I can always go in and add some connective tissue to make this look like it's not floating. And that's also probably where his other half is going to have to connect. So, you know, whatever connective tissue I add would also probably serve as a connection point. But I'm not going to worry about that for now. And instead, let's just focus on making the truck. Now, I guess I could give him like kind of a beer belly. I suppose, because obviously this is his chest, and there would be the cab here. It's just a question of if I want him to have a big beer gut or if I want him to have more of a pronounced chest. But you know, beer gut's kind of fun. Make him like this like overweight wrestler character. I think that's kind of a fun idea. more interesting than just the average robot. So why not? Let's do that. Uh, 2x3s right here. There you go. That's, oops. Finally fulfilling its purpose. Those brackets now create a spine on that connection. If I can get everything folded in. You can see a truck forming, like a monster truck forming. And then these are the nearest 2x1 bricks or 1x2 bricks I can find. So let's just use those grill bricks. And something like that. There we go. Now, I would then put, I don't know, maybe like one of these here for his crotch. And then this whole back section of the truck will have to fold out from, we'll have to fold in onto his back or something, which, you know, shouldn't be a huge problem. But this is a truck, you know, it's a monster truck forming. I think this is looking good. So let's transform it into the robot mode so we can see how it looks in that mode so far. Oops, I broke him. Oops, that's a very loose connection, so we got to be careful around it. Fold it over like that. Oh, geez, I'm breaking them left and right. Oops. See, this is what happens when you get rid of my fancy editing and I'm just fumbling around with the model. Okay. So you have kind of this beer belly. This is kind of funny. I am wondering, like, if I didn't drop a piece, oops, if I extended this down even just one plate, I think that does make for a little bit more of a funny looking robot. And then you could have a slope here. He's got this big beer gut. Yeah, I think that's actually kind of funny. I kind of like that. I know I've had some comments in the past with people who don't seem to like my more strange proportions I give my characters. But that ain't gonna stop me. I like weird robots, so I'm gonna make some weird robots. And this is a case where I'm gonna go with the weird. He's gonna have this big little beer gut because I think it's funny. Though I am quickly going to add a second brick here just to beef this up. There we go. So now, I suppose it's a question of adding the whole back of the truck and having it fold over onto his butt, which, again, shouldn't be that difficult, really. So let's get into that. And I think the first thing I'm going to try is actually getting rid of this and replacing it with a part with a hinge and a 2x2 like this, and then everything can go right back on top of that. So now we have a hinge to build the back of the truck off of. So I'm gonna just quickly turn this back into a truck and we'll be right back. Okay, we have them back in this truck mode, so now it's time to add the back of the truck. I'm thinking I'm going to use some of these. And one of these. And then I have to get some Technic bricks. Okay, so I've got some Technic bricks and Technic pins. And I'm actually going to reverse this piece. Place it like that. In fact, actually, I might place it like that. Yeah, that actually might make more sense. And then build off of that. Okay, now I finally went ahead and got some regular 1x2s for this portion of the build. This would be built off of here. Let's get some 1x1s into here. I think that should be roughly a two plate gap. So let's fill this all in. Okay. Then this can be a little bumper back here. With a tile. And see if I have a the slopes I want for this. I don't seem to, so let me improvise. With some of these. You can see that all folds in nicely. Although then we do have to deal with this part and how to fill this all in. Which is a bit of a tricky one. Let me see. Does that? Oh, actually, that fits. And then it's just a matter of having it slide out in a way that it won't pop off, which I can live with. Here we go. So let's add a tile there. And add the same piece. Oops, on the other side. So effectively what we've just done here is just make kibble, but unfortunately that's just what we needed. Sometimes you need some kibble to fill out a alt mode. So let me clear out the desk and then we'll show what we have so far. Okay, so we have a monster truck. You know, looks pretty good. I definitely could use, like I said, some connective tissue in the center here, but that is something I'm going to think about later as I make the second half of him. The wheels do kind of jut out a little bit, which is a little bit awkward, but such is life. I don't think it's terrible. I think it works. I could maybe add some like implication of suspension here. I could try, but we'll see. Yeah, I think it looks okay. It's just a goofy little monster truck. And to transform him, you slide out this whole section. Oops, I broke it. Just fold it out like that. That will free up to deal with the legs. Which will come out. Fold over. Fold down. You have a leg. Same on the other side. This will fold out. This will fold onto the back, which actually, now that I'm looking at it, doesn't actually work all that well. You end up with this big old butt chunk, which isn't great. Yeah, see, this is sometimes you run into this issue where you aren't thinking something through, and once you transform into the other mode, you're like, oh, actually, that doesn't work the way I thought it would. So we might have to rethink how this backpack works. Okay, so off camera, I just kind of rejigged how this all worked. Before this folded under, now it folds over, and then I just, changed the side panels accordingly. So now it, is a slightly more thick truck. It's kind of like got this back fairing on it. I don't know if that's the proper word, but yeah, so it's a slightly different truck. But it actually transforms now, so that's what matters. Speaking of which, let's transform it. So, just like last time, these panels kind of just wiggle out. And get out of the way. Then the leg transformation that I'm sure you're all very familiar with now at this point in the video. This is, it's a big part of designing a transformer, just repeating that, oh my god, this keeps coming off. Repeating that transformation over and over and over and over and over as you incrementally change each mode. It's just kind of part of the process. Okay, there you go. One leg. Second leg. And now this will actually fold back, end up on his back, and be out of sight, out of mind. And he can stand, he's got big old beer gut, pretty sizable backpack, but again, that's just unfortunately what's going to have to happen to make this a Duocon. There we go. think it looks pretty good. So I guess it's time to move on to the second half of the Duocon. So there we go. So for this half of the Duocon, I'm thinking I want to make a dragster. So once again, I've started by getting some wheels ready. These are the wheels I usually go with. It's just a stud, and then I'll put the part number for the tire right now. And then this is a cylindrical brick, if I can get it out. Cylindrical brick, and then this tire, which I'll put the part number up for right now. So I'm thinking one of those really long, like crazy dragsters. And obviously, I still have this half here, so I can work based off of it. So yeah. The other thing I'm thinking is I want like a big exposed engine scoop in the back, and then that could maybe end up on his head. I think that could be fun. So I guess let's get started. Based on, what we have here, obviously this guy is basically going to have to split into two arms and a head. So most of him is going to be splitting down the middle. So I guess we need to start with some kind of center hub that it can all split around. And I guess that central hub may as well be a Travis brick. Then I can get some clip tiles. And just go with these for now. And I'm thinking, like if this all came in here, you can see that these would be the shoulders, this would be the neck. That's what I'm thinking right now. And I'm going to build off the back here to attach his rear wheels. So those will be attached somewhere here. I might even build it up like this as a way of like covering his head, maybe. In fact, this might even make sense to do like this. I might swap this out. For this. And actually, I have an idea here for better clearance. If I can find the piece, one of these. So that when this rotates, there's no corner here butting into the clip tile there. And we just build out this with a plate. and a jumper plate. And then the big old wheels there. And then, sure, why not? Let's just add his head. His head can be the cockpit too, or would it be considered a cockpit on this kind of vehicle? I don't even know. The windscreen. Green eyes. Why not? And then, like I mentioned, I want an engine scoop up here on the top of his head. I think that's just kind of a funny look. There we go. So then this will all fold back and become one with his backpack. Although I'm just now already realizing an issue here is that if this rotates, oh, actually, no, it does have clearance. It just barely has clearance to pass by that. And then that can, in some way, connect up onto there. There we go. Now it's just a matter of making the rest of the car into some arms, I guess. So let's just transform this all back quickly. And get some tiles on these pieces. So yes, now I guess the question is, how do I add a good, useful shoulder joint here? And I think the first thing I need is some robot claws. So I got 2 of those. And I might also add a spoiler back here. That would also hide his face. It's just for now, I'm not worrying about it. Maybe into some D-snots. Because if you're not aware, D-snots are added slightly different. They're kind of flipped. So if you have it like this edge is now flush with this. If you flip it like that, it adds, I think, like a half a plate gap, which might be enough to allow for a flush plate-to-plate connection. I'm not sure. I'm not a Lego mathematician. I'm not super well versed in that kind of stuff. So it seems like if I get this all lined up, it seems like it creates this 3-plate gap between the arms, which could mean, I could go for an asymmetric arm look. I think that's not a terrible idea. I think I could live with asymmetrical arms. So let's I think that's something to consider. Although I'm also thinking this cockpit needs to be raised. Oops. This cockpit is sitting too low. There we go. I think that just looks a little bit better. So if we just transform it into its proposed, I guess, upper body mode, we have to consider how big his arms need to be, which might be an issue because, well, he's a pretty small vehicle. So, for example, this was kind of the length I had on them. It's not great. Though, I do wonder if we could rotate this down, have the arms mount lower, so he looks kind of more like a dumpy little fat dude. And I don't know, I think I'm kind of a little more okay with that. It's hard to it's hard to tell right now because obviously I just have this floating here. It's not actually connected in any way, which I suppose I probably should fix that. I should probably add some kind of connection here to get this actually connected. So I think that's what I'm going to quickly do. I'm going to add a small connection point. Something simple. Just using droid arms and a T-joint. Where it's going to be very easy to vary it, to like change where it's connected, if that makes sense, so that we're not locked into, there we go, we're not locked into like a set position. Like this can kind of be finagled with. So, there we go. So bringing the shoulders down like that, I don't know, I kind of like that. It just makes him like this goofy little fat dude. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that. I don't know. And I do like how then the wheels here are above his shoulders. Like that's a very classical Transformers thing to me. Yeah, I think I can work with that. One thing I am considering is if I can find them, hinge plates. Having it hinge over. Like that. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. If that's like a totally great idea. Because it does mean that, beefing up the dragster, which is kind of the opposite of what you want. But it does give him an elbow joint and lengthens the arms a bit. So I think it is a worthwhile thing to consider, at the very least. because then I can pull out some brackets. And those would be, I think those would be centered if, 1 second. Because a bracket overhangs a plate. You see, like that, like half a plate. So if you remember, there's a 3-plate gap in this, in between the arms. So hypothetically, this would then come together and actually, you know, fill in that gap. Though then it runs into this cockpit. So actually, I might swap that out. Something like that. Then just bringing in some round slopes. And then just place the studs here. And the wheels can go onto those studs. Very simply. So you do kind of have a dragster here. But then you have this very thick nose, which isn't really what a dragster is supposed to look like, which is awkward. It's tricky because you do want, you know, decently sized arms for your character. This is the tricky part of Duocons. You want, sometimes you need more robot than you have vehicle, or you have more vehicle than you need for the robot. I guess cheese slopes here. So yeah, now we go like that. Honestly, something I'm considering now is what if I flipped it so that this was the back and this was the front. But for now, I'll think about that in a second. But first, I just want to see how this looks when I actually put it onto the robot. So, and then he does have honestly, these arms might be too long now. They kind of give him this, like, little shrimpy arms. They don't feel bulky enough. So yeah, I think I am going to consider that idea of swapping the direction of the car. I think that might be the key to this. So here we have the dragster mode, and what I'm thinking is just straight up flip it around. So drop all this. Probably build up the bulk here with some cheese slopes. And then have plates coming out like that. And then just kind of ripping them to shreds here. Place the wheels roughly here. See, now that's much more like a dragster. I think I might have one too many bricks here in the front. And obviously this, I don't know about having it literally this small, this tight together. I might say try and bring in plates like this. Which you could use. Oops. Dropping things. A piece like this. There we go. To make it a little bit less extreme. But, that's much more, like an actual dragster. And then I suppose in this case, the cockpit, actually, let me replace this with a Travis brick. So that I can have, something up top here. But now the head will form the cockpit, which it already kind of did, but now just much more explicitly, I guess. So I do think I'll need to change the arms here to cover that up a little bit, which shouldn't be that big of a problem, but I'll do that. And then I don't really like that. That seems too much. That seems like too little. Let me see here. That kind of extends the cockpit out, and then this sort of leads into those hinges. I think these wheels need to be brought forward. So they feel less tacked on. So there we go. And then we can have a lamp holder, if I can find lamp holders. Here, which could then double as a weapon in robot mode, I suppose. If I get it right, if it's like an engine scoop back here, it can then double as some kind of cannon in robot mode. So then the only thing we're worrying about now is covering up his face, which I think I have an idea here. A fairly simple idea. Of just putting plates here. Putting these pieces here, rather. So there you have a dragster. I guess let's see how well it transforms. There you go. I actually kind of like that a lot. He's like this tubby little weirdo. So yeah, there we go. I think we're pretty much done. So here we have the Duocon more or less completed. There are some bits that I think could be improved on, but for the time being, I'm going to consider him done. So let's take a look at each component individually, starting with the monster truck. So here we have the monster truck. I think it looks pretty good. It definitely has some room for improvement. For example, there is this gap up top, and it could still use more connective tissue here. That connector in there for robot mode does help to fill it in a little bit, but it is still pretty gappy, and I think you could use a little bit more. But for now, again, I think it's okay, and I'll look into that off video. But yeah, it's just a decent looking monster truck. Yeah, the rear wheels do stick out a little bit, which is kind of awkward, but I think it's worth it for the transformation. And yeah, just a nice little monster truck. As far as color scheme, honestly, I don't really know. I don't think I would stick with white for him. I think white is a little bit boring, but I'm not sure what color I would use. So let's get on to the dragster. So here we have the dragster, and honestly, the one major place I think I want to improve on this is maybe trying to add a spoiler. I don't know how I would do that. I guess it would have to form some kind of weapon in robot mode, although I would prefer it not have to parts form, so maybe it could like connect onto this piece. I'm not sure. I just think without a spoiler, it does feel a little bit incomplete. But other than that, I think it looks the part. It looks nice. And for this one, I do think I know roughly what color I'd want to go for. I think I would probably make this red, just regular old red. Most of the parts I've used here do come in that color, and yeah, I think it would just look nice in a nice bright red. So now I guess it's time to transform him. So let's start with the monster truck. You just pull out this rear chunk, fold over the wheel, try not to pop it off, fold it over, and then rotate. Again on this side, fold over the wheel, fold it down, try not to pop it off. Oops. Yeah, that's a very weak connection. That's something. I think it's also just the combination of parts I've used here. Like these gold ones have weak clutch, I think, but it is definitely a fragile connection there. Though I don't know if there's a good way to replace it or anything. I think it's kind of just something you're going to have to deal with this design, unfortunately. Then this will all fold up onto the back. This will fold flush. And then you can come in here and fold out a little connector peg. And see, that popped off again. And then you have the first half of the Duocon. Then for the dragster, you rotate it and momentarily fold out these parts, split it in half, rotate like this, and fold like that, and then you can come back in and swing these back down. Then it's time to combine them. Peg hole here, peg there. And there you go. You have him complete. And I think he's he's a pretty funny looking guy. He is kind of tubby, and I think that's pretty characterful. It's more interesting than, if he was just a traditional, more heroic looking guy. He looks he's got like this dad bod going on. I think that makes him fun. I think I would like to reflect that in his name. I think he needs to have some kind of goofier name, though I don't have a particular idea in mind. So I guess if you'd like to suggest one, feel free to comment in the comments below what you think he should be named. But yeah, I do like him. He does have a fair bit of kibble with this junk in the trunk and this hanging off, but I don't think this looks too bad. And the junk in the trunk almost does fit his body type. Like, he actually just does have junk in the trunk, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think he's a nice looking guy. Fairly happy with him. And hopefully you all enjoy him too. And if you do build this model based off this video, always feel free to share with me on Instagram or Twitter, or you can find my email on my YouTube page, and I'd love to see it. So I guess I'll see you next time. This has been STSC, and goodbye.